got a barrel of money. Maybe we're ragged and funny, but we're traveling along, singing a song, side by side. We don't know what's coming tomorrow. Maybe it's trouble and sorrow, but we'll travel the road, sailing alone, side by side. Through all kinds of weather, what if the sky should fall? As long as we're together, it doesn't matter at all. When they've all had the quarrels and parted, we'll be the same as we started, just traveling along, singing a song, side by side. Maybe we're ragged and funny, but we'll travel along, singing a song, side by side. We don't know what's coming tomorrow. Maybe it's trouble and sorrow. We travel the road, sharing a load, side by side. And through all kinds of weather, what if the sky should fall? Together, we started just to travel along, singing a song, side by side, side by side.
We kindle this symbol of our community of faith for the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the fire of commitment.
Thank you to Ralph Putnam and Ned Jackson for leading us in our songs this morning as LB takes a well-deserved vacation. Let us sing together. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Greater Lansing, where we covenant to affirm and promote the worth and dignity of every person. It is a joy to be together to shape what is of worth to this community. on this first Sunday morning in April. It's great for me to welcome April with a sunny Sunday morning. And it is a joy to be together with all of you. My name is Reverend Neal Anderson. I use the pronouns he, him, and his, and it's an honor and blessing to serve this religious community as senior minister. Before we get started in worship, I wanted to remind you all that we continue to celebrate our 175th anniversary as a liberal religious community in Greater Lansing. We had a beautiful celebration a number of weeks ago. One of the ongoing projects of the 175th anniversary recognition is our anniversary timeline, which a team of congregants has put together, but need your help to fill in. And there are 4 bands on the timeline, and you can see the timeline in the atrium on Sundays. Spaces to put world and national events, state and local events, UU Lansing history, and personal and family events. And we will see over the weeks and months to come everyone's ideas and a rich tapestry of history on our timeline. So I hope you'll be able to participate in that. And as I was reading the newsletter, which if you don't get, you can provide us your email before you leave on a welcome card. We'll make sure you get on our email list so you get the newsletter on Friday. Sometimes it's late when the minister forgets to send it out and it gets there Saturday night. So hopefully nobody had that experience yesterday. Going, why did it come in? Oh, that's because I forgot. Yeah, I had it. It was all ready to go. See, the newsletter editor had it all ready to go. Anyways, my story of my life. I forgot. So I was saying, I was reading in that newsletter that today is the last day to make contributions to the auction, to make a donation. And I know that the auction team has been hard at work collecting your offerings, getting everything ready to be cataloged, so that in a number of weeks you all can bid on lots of those items in this important and fun fundraiser. So today, if you have an idea of something you'd like to contribute, hopefully you can do that. Now, I just invite you to take a few moments to greet one another. Let each other know how wonderful it is to be together. Maybe you'll meet somebody new in these moments that we greet one another. Thank you, Zabby, for reminding me that we should greet everybody on the live stream first. Good morning to you who join us on the live stream. And now let us take a moment to greet one another.
I'm Jessica Stokes. My pronouns are they or she or most anything with a hint of ambiguity. Today, my family, Michael, Cordelia, and I are here to welcome you with a story about a new holiday for horseshoe crabs. The holiday and this dialogue are adapted from the book Blood Tide by trans queer puppeteer Eli Nixon. As they say, everybody is invited, whether you have a spine, an exoskeleton, or no bones at all.
Don't you think we're a little over-holidayized over here as it is? Spring already has Purim, Holy, Easter, Ramadan, Passover, Orthodox Easter, and a day where Sriracha convinces me to buy their new spicy mayo toothpaste.
You're not wrong. I actually woke up with half of this plastic Easter egg under my back this morning. But hear me out. What about leaning into our love for holidays that's led to us having oh so many of them, and leaning away from another excuse to buy tiny or large plastic objects and greeting cards? Holidays can offer a time for pause, moments of connection, and understanding of ourselves as more than singular. We become a we when we celebrate together. You celebrate the flower communion, child dedication, and equinox with panache. Why not add horseshoe crabs to the mix?
Well, for one, they don't live anywhere near the unsalted waters of Michigan. For two, they're closely related to ticks, of which I am not a fan. And for three, that's just a very strange creature to celebrate.
Look, you're still not wrong, but despite their lack of proximity to you and their spider meets tick meets scorpion appearance and DNA, you've benefited from these creatures. Their blood is drained by pharmaceutical companies and used to check for dangerous bacterial endotoxins in countless medical interventions, including the COVID-19 vaccines. But Eli Nixon doesn't start this holiday for horseshoe crabs on what they can do for you. Don't ask what horseshoe crabs can do for you, but what you can do for the horseshoe crab and the planet when you spend time thinking about the meaning and importance of a 450 million year old and oh so unglamorous being. Mary Oliver writes, "Attention is the beginning of devotion," and Nixon's book uses attention to the horseshoe crab as the beginning of community creation and play practices that might lead to practices of cleaning up ecosystems where you live, of making reparations, and of imagining more just futures.
Well, since I already built this carapace yesterday, I guess I'm more than ready to cease being a narrative foil and to start celebrating.
I'm glad that my rhetorical prowess is so powerful that I convinced you to join me in this impossible dance. And now, hopefully, I have enough power to convince all of you to join me as well. So I invite anyone in the congregation who wants to celebrate our interdependent relationships with our blue boat home and all the creatures on it to join us in trying to dance like a horseshoe crab. We know you will not succeed, and we won't either. Cordelia's costume puppet is a horse, because horseshoe crab, obviously. Michael wanted to have something a little bit closer to home, so he's got a crawdad. And John Mark, what are you wearing?
I made an exoskeleton arm that also encourages physical and occupational therapy.
An exoskeleton arm that encourages occupational therapy. Right, none of us have 12 limbs, but as Lucille Clifton says, we cannot create what we cannot imagine. So let's go about opening our imaginations as wide as we can through play. Cordelia, Michael, John Mark, Lansing, are you ready? Okay, let's dance as a horseshoe crab. I invite you to stand if you want or stay seated if that's better for you. And then turn your 2 legs into 10. Now, move all 10 legs at once. Your fingers pincers, your fingers pincers. Move slowly and bend in half. Move even slower than that. Look at the ceiling, but not with these eyes, with the eyes on your back. Breathe with ruffling book lungs. Follow the moon for directions. Imagine that upcoming eclipse. Molt. And finally, if you want, lay on the floor. Thank you for playing with us. Now let's join Ned and Ralph as we sing out the youth and advisors for faith development. All right. So why, oh why, did Michael, Cordelia, and me ask you to imagine dancing like horseshoe crabs this morning? Many of you know the phrase, play is the work of children. Cordelia is leading the way right now. I tried to find the origins of this quotation leading up to today, and I went down quite a rabbit hole. You can find memes attributing play as the work of children to Fred Rogers, Jean Paget, Maria Montessori, Rudolf Steiner. All of them get the idea quoted as their own. Now, I even went further down a rabbit hole that proposed 17th and 18th century philosophers Locke and Rousseau as the originators of this quote. But instead of making you sit through a lecture on the origins of democracy or the state of nature, I figured you might prefer a story about play in practice. So this week, my toddler daughter has been a yoga instructor, a doctor, a dog, a rules lawyer. You should have heard her elaborate argumentation about why she needed that chocolate chip before we had pancakes this morning. Now, teacher, doctor, lawyer, you might think I hit the parental futures jackpot. But I'm just as happy when Cordelia is playing dog and laughing hysterically while learning how to take turns and how to share space and how to lick her fellow dogs on the mouth. Okay, maybe not that last part. Grandma Donna's dog is quite into licking after all, but the rest of it. It's evident to many UUs the importance of unstructured time and open-ended play in kids' lives. I don't know how many people here I've met who graduated from or put their own kids through Montessori if they could afford it, or who enrolled their children in the nature school of their own backyard or the neighborhood playground as an alternative. We sing poet Khalil Gibran's words in church as we honor our kids' minds grown through love and play. Your children are not your children, he writes. They are the sons and the daughters of life's longing for itself. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. For life goes not backward, nor tarries with yesterday. And it's that line about how you may strive to be like them that I want to stay with today. What would it mean for us to strive to play like children? To play, not so the grown-ups in our lives will be happy about what's happening at this present moment. To play, not so someone will perceive it as work well done, but to play for joy and laughter and spontaneity. This week at the Worship Associates meeting, Ministerial Intern Martha Bogner brought us a game from a futurist and game designer named Jane McGonigal. The game let us play together as we imagine church now and how church could change. It was really fun to sit there thinking about 100 different parts of our service and how we might change any one of those and what would be difficult about it and what would be compelling. It turns out Jane McGonigal has been asking people to engage in games about difficult things for a long time. She writes, "Many of my games challenge players to tackle real-world problems at a planetary scale: hunger, poverty, climate change, or global peace." In 2008, she had players engage in a simulation of a pandemic, and they made choices about how they'd navigate a multiple-week quarantine. 2008, she had players do this. So this work sounds depressing, but she finds it motivating. She writes, "People are so strangely optimistic coming out of these simulations. We're imagining things that should be hard to think about. They should produce anxiety, but when people are given a chance to experience them in a psychologically safe way, to think about all the things that we will need to live through, you get more creativity and optimism and play. There's this psychological shift from feeling anxious or helpless to feeling ready and powerful and oh so helpful." So horseshoe crabs. Interdependence, our theme for this month at UU Lansing, is such a complex thing to think about. Everything is related to one another. We benefit from horseshoe crabs, and our actions here can impact their lives over there. It can be easy to shut down hearing about all the habitat loss and the 90% decline in their numbers over the past few years. It can be difficult to imagine this oh-so-strange-looking creature as a good mascot for climate action or thinking about how we're related. Why not whales or giraffes or any of the large and fancy creatures that more successfully inspire action with their human-like songs and their absurdly long necks? But what if we learn from children to notice the small things, to slow down, to hone our attention, and to play? I think we might find ourselves able to love more, able to love stranger creatures than we realize, hopefully without licking them. And perhaps we'll find ourselves more optimistic about the power to make change together. Come, let us worship together in a spirit of love and attention and play. Thank you.
Getting ready, Cordelia, for Touchstones? Right on time. On Friday afternoon, I took some time to go to the Detroit Institute of Arts. I was particularly interested in seeing an exhibition there called Regeneration, Black Cinema from 1898 through 1971. A most impressive walk through the history of black cinema from the racist portrayals in the early 20th century in films such as ones by D.W. Griffiths into the Black Power movement of the 60s and 70s, all portrayed on film. One of the center pieces of the exhibit is photographs and film of the Nicholas brothers in a film called Stormy Weather. The Nicholas brothers, who are dancers, and if you ever get a chance to see that scene from Stormy Weather, it is the most amazing dancing. The brothers had some real flexibility and strength. After seeing the exhibition, the African American History Society in Detroit hosted an evening called Jazzatry, where a jazz trio and a group of spoken word performers gathered under the direction of Rosemary Wilson, otherwise known as One Single Rose. When she was introducing our opportunity to engage, she said, during a spoken word performance, you are invited to, if you hear something that resonates, to snap your fingers, to clap. In fact, she suggested if there was something really poignant that happened in that moment, that one could say, rewind. And if the spoken word artist, I'm not sure if I could do this, could go back and repeat the lines that they had just spoken again. I loved this interactivity, this interdependence that was created in that theater together. It was like being at church on a Friday evening with this backing of some amazing Detroit jazz musicians and spoken word artists, all creating this sense of meaning and purpose. One of the things that this Touchstones ritual does for us is it reinforces interdependence. That's what ritual can do. It can remind us that though we drop individual stones in our columns of water, they are together with all of the stones that are dropped, reminding us of the interdependence that we have, both in our joys and sorrows, the commonality of our human experience, the reminder that we are not alone. And so as we engage in this ritual together, I invite you to come forward if you like, to take a touchstone and drop it in the water, and just be reminded that you are not alone, that we are indeed interdependent. Let's engage in this ritual together.
Like
Cordelia is going to drop a few more stones for all of you who gather via live stream, for your touchstones and all of those that we hold in our hearts and our minds here in the sanctuary. And now I'd invite you to join with me in the spirit of meditation and prayer. Spirit of life, spirit of love. We gather together on this beautiful morning in April with broken hearts for our own losses, for letting go and remembering. We gather with those joys of the day, fresh buds in spring, the laughter and fun of children, for laying on the floor in church, for visits from dogs in worship. Those moments of joy that inevitably mix with the brokenheartedness. Always the both and. Grateful for both. Our hearts continue to break at witnessing to humanity's wars, the death and destruction of peoples throughout the world. As I continue to think about Israel and Palestine, I share the words of Dr. Reverend Sophia Bentoncourt, the president of the Unitarian Universalist Association. I pray for the people of Israel and Palestine. I pray for leaders around the globe who must respond to this latest violence, the untenable ethical considerations that abound. I pray for Muslim and Jewish Unitarian Universalists who experience the impact of this long strife acutely. I pray that those of us less likely to know the trauma of unending brutality and harm will not turn away from generational loss, from the devastating realities and their root causes, or from the relentless tragedy of war and occupation. Be gentle with yourselves when you need to be, but do not turn away unless you must. We are one global family living tenuously on the same human-impacted earth. Let us center ourselves in justice as we call for peace.
Amen.
May it be so. Blessed be and amen. Go ahead. Comfort me
It is our practice to give generously of our time, talents, and treasures to this church and to those, and share those gifts with our community partners. Our special plate collection for the month of April is Reach Art Studio, introduced by Pat Quinn.
Good morning. I'm Pat Quinn. My pronouns are she, her. April's special plate collection is for Reach Studio Art Center. Reach is an imaginative, vibrant space in Lansing that offers out-of-school engagement in the arts for all ages and abilities. Regardless of a person's ability to pay, Reach offers the opportunity to create art. We have a video to introduce you to Reach.
When I walk into Reach and we've got beat making going on in one studio and a sewing class going on in another studio and a fundamentals of painting going on in another studio space and a clay class happening, all happening is like, that's sort of like my dream come true. But when they're activated with all of these different things, it's just, it's really an art center, where people come. They know that Reach is the place they can go to learn how to do this kind of art making or that kind of art making.
I'm Melissa Keeley, and I'm the Executive Director at Reach Studio Art Center. Well, Reach is a pretty amazing place, actually, and it provides a lot of opportunities for people to experience art and to have opportunities for creative expression. Our mission at Reach is to foster equitable access to arts education and programming, and we do that for ages 0 through 100. So when you come to Reach, you're able to take part in a class or a workshop or a drop-in program where you're gonna have an opportunity to learn from exceptional local teaching artists, different art skills in a variety of disciplines. And with 10,000 square feet and 7 separate studios, we have a wealth of opportunities that allow people to take a deeper dive into creative disciplines and artistic expression. There's something here at Reach for everyone.
I'm Alice Rachman. The reason I started Reach was because I had been really wanting to share art making with the youth in the neighborhood. The vision for this art space was to be able to reach youth that would otherwise not have the opportunity to dive into new ways of expressing themselves.
Well, Reach is an open, inclusive, and welcoming environment where we really seek to create community through the art-making process. And for those who kind of have a desire to express themselves creatively, Reach really fills a niche there of allowing kids the space to grow and learn and explore and express themselves in a really unique way.
I think it just all boils down to art making being important because it gives the individual, it gives the youth agency. There's not necessarily a right or a wrong, like if you're learning math, there's a right answer and there's a wrong answer, right? But when you're doing art, you have to decide. You have to make a choice, and it's your choice. You exercise your imagination. You exercise decision making.
So one of the things that makes Reach really special is that foundational mission of fostering equitable access to the arts. All of our classes have spots that we reserve for students who may not otherwise be able to afford to attend the classes. It's really central to Reach's mission to make sure that that budget is not a barrier for youth to attend classes here. Our ability to provide art for everyone and for youth, regardless of their income level, is really thanks to the generosity of our donor base. And we do rely on charitable donations every year to help us achieve this work and to provide this critical and vital programming. And we're so grateful for community support and hope that the legacy of 20 years of Reach continues on for 20 plus, and that our community continues to invest in this really important programming. So at Reach, we believe in art classes for all. So if you're 2 or 102, we hope you'll join us here for classes.
If you would like to donate to this ongoing work, you can do so by placing cash in the baskets as they come by, or going to the website to uulansing.org and clicking the donate button. You can also mail checks to the church designating your gift in the memo line. This month, all undesignated gifts will go to Reach Studio Art Center. We will now gratefully receive this morning's offering.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Swallow your pride. If I have things you need to borrow, for one cannot fill those of your needs that you don't let show. So just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'd understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll help you, friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. If there is a load you have if you just call me, call me, call me, call me.
This month in worship, we celebrate the gift of interdependence. One way we speak of interdependence is that we honor the independent web of all existence with reverence for the great web of life, and with humility we acknowledge our place in it. We covenant to protect Earth and all beings from exploitation. We will create and nurture sustainable relationships of care and respect, mutuality and justice, and we will work to repair harm and damaged relationships. I was thinking about interdependence. It also came to mind Professor Kimberly Crenshaw's idea of intersectionality, that each of us embodies many identities, and those identities are in intersections. Some of those identities change over our lifetimes, and some do not. One of the stories of interdependence that we have in Unitarian Universalism is the interdependence of our religious identities. And so today, during this month of Ramadan, Sonia Schreier-Norris is going to tell her story of the religious interdependence in her life.
Good morning. My name is Sonia Schreier-Norris, and my pronouns are she and her. We are nearing the end of Ramadan, the holiest month in the Islamic calendar. It gained that significance in 610 CE, which is when the Quran started to be revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and it was in the month of Ramadan. So this month, a fellow convert and friend of 30 years sent me a video chat on her second day of fasting. And she was reminding herself that she didn't have to pre-dread fasting, which is the way she usually approaches Ramadan. Ramadan is transcendent, and it is awful. It is compelling and exhausting. It does teach masterful self-control, but it can break you too. Ramadan is really hard. I am not fasting this year. I miss iftars, the breaking of fast in community. It's just not the same when you're home alone. I miss the huge iftars of the early years of my conversion in Ann Arbor. So you'd go at the time to break fast, and you'd pray in community with hundreds of other people. And Islam builds community through physical touching as well as through words. So you're literally shoulder to shoulder. Get together, get together, get together, get together, they say before you pray. So you pray in community, and then dozens of women feed hundreds of people every night and thousands of people through the month in these enormous kitchens. So you're sitting on this plush, deep carpeting, eating food with your hands with hundreds of other people, and it is inspiring and transcendent and the best part of Ramadan. My friend was having a good day on her second day of fasting, and I was hopeful for her. In that video chat, she also talked about her own conversion story. She was 23. She was an independent correspondent who had stationed herself in Nigeria. And like me, when I converted, she was swept up in the emotional appeal. As another friend who moved to Saudi Arabia with her husband when she was young, she says, they suck you in with the art and the food, and then they have you for life, and that is the truth. So shortly before Ramadan started, when I was feeling that pull of expectation and obligation, I my tarot cards read for the first time. So I'd always shunned tarot cards, thinking, okay, that's not Islamic, I shouldn't do that, I'm just gonna stay away. But then I thought, hey, I am equally Unitarian Universalist, and we encourage spiritual growth, so I'm gonna have my tarot cards read. So the reading was by a fellow Unitarian Universalist, and it really resonated with me. And this was like a day before Ramadan started. And it told me, or the tarot cards encouraged me to go, you know, connect with God, do Ramadan. So I was like, oh, I dread it, I don't wanna. So, but I made some plans for Ramadan. I decided that this Ramadan, my spiritual practice would be to explore my bi-religious nature, what it means to be both Muslim and Unitarian Universalist. I was introduced to this concept of being bi-religious by my spiritual advisor, June Mears-Driedger, who is a Mennonite minister. And she referred me to whole books on being bi-religious. The conference that she was attending that year had bi-religion as its theme. Bi-religion is not a new form of religious identity, and being born to parents of different faiths will land you here too. What's not very common is to choose to belong to two religions when you were born into neither. Okay, so neither Islam nor Unitarian Universalism has like a leg up or an advantage in my life, and I choose to have both. And combining the two of them has been a process of spiritual growth. Before I committed here, I asked Imam Sohail's permission. I'm not doing anything wrong, I'm not doing anything I'm ashamed of, and I didn't know what the boundaries were. You know, if I'm Muslim, what can I go join a church? So I asked him, and he said, the break point is worshiping God. You cannot worship God in a non-Muslim setting and still call yourself a Muslim. And I'm like, cool. Unitarian Universalists can't even agree to believe in a God. There is a God, none of that. I'm totally solid, totally solid. So I am honoring Ramadan with a period of reflection within Islam. So Islam has 99 names for Allah, and they include things like wisdom and mercy and justice, the expander, the contractor, and I have a set of cards that I was given by a fellow Muslim, and they explain each of those names as you go through them. So I'm going through those names, reflecting on them each day. Got a 99 Names of Allah coloring book and a new set of fancy pens. So I was coloring the names as I went through them. My spiritual advisor, June, had explained to me that the rules of Islam are the scaffolding that I am using to search for the divine. And it is that trellis that where I experience the unearned and unearnable love of God. My yearning for the divine is as real as the pillow beneath my head. It simply is. I simply believe that Muhammad is the prophet of God, and I simply believe that, and there's really no way around that, something that you just truly believe. I love Islam. I love the structure, that scaffolding that it provides me to strive toward God. And Islam has a plethora of rules, from profound to petty. And I need rules to feel secure, to feel like I'm doing it right. And Islam provides rules in spades. My friend, who was also an early convert when she was living in Nigeria, had fears about the place of women in Islam. And she decided that she needed to set those fears aside and convert and deal with them later. Well, I've been Muslim for 36 years. She's been Muslim for about the same amount of time, and later has been going on for a really long time. So, in Islam, despite its beauty, despite its magnificence, despite its common sense, and despite the comfort that it gives to 1 billion people in the world right now, my love for women is outside of bounds. So, Islam's rejection of the fullness and nuance of loving relationships between and among women, the complete and unique nature of woman-on-woman love and desire, tells me that Islam has painful and sometimes fatal flaws. Islam allows me to seek the divine, and it fails me in equal measure. So I choose also to be Unitarian Universalist and to honor this congregation and this church during Ramadan. I couldn't find anyone at UU Lansing to ask permission of to stay a Muslim. There was just nobody around like with that kind of authority. Nobody. So Reverend Neal welcomed me 2.5 years ago without qualification as a Unitarian Universalist when I signed the membership book. And there were no external conflicts to practicing both religions except forms. Government forms, hospital forms. There is not space for two religions. They give you one space for your religion. So I'm observing being a Unitarian Universalist this month by practicing our covenant, by paying attention to how others live it, noticing acts of kindness, appreciating covenantal behavior as we strengthen bonds, learning what an authentic and loving relationship is built with, and by being grateful for the spiritual growth that this church offers me. So this month, I made a phone call to another member. I was frustrated about a situation. I got their answering machine, and instead of saying, "Hey, want to talk? Can you call me back?" I was like, "You did this and you did that, yeah." Okay, it was not my finest moment. And I was sorry immediately, and I'm dreading the call back. I'm like, oh, this person always returns phone calls, and this could be not good. So they called back a few hours later, and we took a moment as usual just to check in. What's going on with you? What's going on with you? Cool. I had some questions. He answered my questions really like nice, low-key way. So we're like 15 minutes into the conversation, and he goes, "You know, I really find that I statements work better for communication than you statements." And I heard him, and I was really grateful for that moment of learning that he didn't turn a different cheek toward that situation. So I am striving and not always succeeding to behave in covenant as I work my way through the stressors of being in an elected position on the Leadership Development Committee and as a delegate to both RA and GA. I haven't held an elected office since college, and I sometimes act differently than myself in board meetings. It just doesn't, I'm not on the board, but in meetings like that, doesn't necessarily bring out my best. So I have found that striving to live up to covenantal relationships brings out the best in me. And by striving here with this community and for this community, I like myself more. I am semi-retired, and so now I can spend more time with the church. I experience growth here. I enjoy working for this community. And so I focused this Ramadan on practicing our covenant and learning how to bring my best self to meetings and living up to the responsibility that I asked for when I asked you to elect me to a position. In UU Lansing, I have found the community I was seeking when I chose to be bi-religious, a community to struggle with and grow with, personally and spiritually, a community with whom I have a wealth in common. Finally, the confluence and contradictions in my sometimes awkward experience of being bi-religious have come to the surface in a way I can articulate this Ramadan, and I am grateful for that. I rejoice in the best of both Islam and UU Lansing and manage the challenges of each on their own terms. Thank you.
us join together for our benediction. As a religious community inspired by awe and wonder, we nurture spiritual growth, connect in authentic, loving relationships, and engage in courageous work for peace and justice. May love be our guide. Our worship is over. May our service begin.
Smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Blue skies smiling along, nothing but bluebirds all day long. Never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right. Noticing the days hurrying by, when you're in love, my how they fly. Blue